Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
It's a great day for cacao.
It sure is. Even though it is spring, I had to bring out a fall favorite, my little witch's brew cauldron. It conducts heat really well. So when I place it on my little heating element thing that I have, it actually keeps it warm the whole time. Notice that
Nice.
some of my other cups don't conduct as much, so I may have it on there. The bottom of it will be super hot, but the rest of it will be cold.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm the lukewarm everything person. So I actually brewed mine, a little bit ago. So it's now drinking temperature for me. If it's too hot, I'm like, my mouth is burning.
I don't know. It depends on the day, I guess, like everything else. But anyway, so
I
you can
would
see
watch this. What am I seeing?
I was just gonna say, notice I have my wool wrap back on because this is North Carolina spring comes with a hint of winter. So it was 40 degrees this morning when we woke up, and it's gonna get to like 70 during the day. So layers, layers, layers.
I'm like, I am so jealous. We've had a really beautiful spring here in Florida, I have to say. Like it's generally been quite cool, but I know what's coming.
Yes, I understand that. It's been anyway, it's been really pretty, and almost all of the trees are back. Not all of them, but they're almost all back. It's really interesting. I'm gonna have to spend more time sitting outside and staring because they open when I'm not looking. So I see the buds, and then the next time I look, bam, it's already open. And I was like, man, why can't I never catch that transition moment, And maybe I am, and it just goes really slow when I'm taking a snapshot, sort of a thing. But it's been a lot of fun.
Photography thing to view that. And as you were saying this, I have two frangipani. Do you call them trees or are they plants? I don't know. They look kind of tree-ish to me, but they're the ones that they lose all the leaves, and so it literally looks like you have sticks in your yard. And when I first saw them, I was just like, why do people just have these sticks in their yard? It makes no sense. But then when they bloom, oh my God, and they're so beautiful and they smell amazing. And as you were talking about this, I was reminded, my boyfriend was like, hey, did you see your blooms? And I was like, no, I forgot to look. And I've been in and out of my house again, and I still forgot to look. I should have looked, and I would have been wearing one behind my ear this morning for the next week. I have two plans for sure. One of them will still be blooming next week, and I'm going to wear the frangipani flower in my ear. And I know there's another name that people call them, and I forget. But anyway, you'll see next time.
Somebody Google that. Somebody Google that and put it in the comments. Surely someone knows. I used to know all my Florida landscape trees and plants. I had them, pretty down pat pretty well. And here I'm still learning the difference. And I'm scared to chop anything down because I don't know if it's just in a resting state and it's going to be amazing, or is it dead? So we actually had a gentleman come over recently and kind of give us a survey on the land and tell us about each of the trees and which ones are the good ones and which ones are the sick ones and all that sort of thing. So next week, we're actually going to have a huge tree taken down because it's kind of leaning over a structure. So that is going to be really interesting. So you brought up time lapse. I'm hoping I can set up a time lapse for it because I think it'll be really cool to see how it comes down and hopefully not onto the structure. So yeah, but there's, it's so much maintenance and watching these guys and, seeing how they're doing and which ones are sick and which ones are, just need a little help along and that sort of thing. But all of it is such a great metaphor for our own lives, right? I mean, I hate to state the obvious, but it's, the one that you're talking about that you've walked past it 100 times and you forget to look. How else does that show up in our lives? That or walking past each other, and we're just so busy that we're not even noticing, how interesting is that?
1,000%. And I've been reminded several times over, I'm going to say like the past month. Just going to be real. The past month, my schedule has been jam packed full, like even to the extent where I'm like, I need a day off. I need some rest. But no, there's all these things that are on the schedule that need to get done. And it's like, if there were things that I didn't like doing, I would easily just find a way to say no. But all of these things are things that I love and have so much meaning to me. And, so many of them are impacting people's lives in such profound ways. That's definitely something that I'm going to work on, creating more balance in my life, because we do need rest. That's what winter is about rest. And not that we all have to just rest only during that season, but it is creating all of those elements. Like even in a day, we go through all the 4 stages, winter, spring, summer, fall, like in each day we go through that, and creating the balance.
Well, and I think it's important for growth, right? Not, when our kids are little, we tell them that they grow while they're sleeping. So you got to go to bed if you want to be taller, you got to go to bed if you want to get bigger. And not only is our body actually regenerating when we sleep, but forget sleep, just talk about opening up your mind. I was talking to a friend of ours yesterday, and I was pointing out that you have to create the vacuum for things to manifest, for things to come in, to get a new idea. If you keep staring at the oncoming train, it's going to hit you. You need to change your perspective, look around, look down, move out of the way, So if you want to create more of something in your life, whatever it might be, the first thing you got to do is make the space for it, And I learned that years and years ago, not just mentally with, hey, I need new business ideas, or I need a new marketing idea, or I want to write something. And, you can't write something if your brain is full. You got to make the space for it. I learned it with my calendar and my business. I remember complaining to my coach at the time, gosh, I'm just not getting bookings. And they said, well, how's your calendar? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. And they said, well, then where are the bookings going to go? And I was like, wow, mind blown. It didn't even occur to me. I was so busy doing one-to-ones and having cups of coffee all over Fort Lauderdale that I did not make the space for the photo shoots to come in. And so right then and there, I decided to create a calendar, openings 3 months, 4 months out. And I specifically put on my calendar 2-3 days a week, open for photo shoots today, open for photo, or photo shoot happening today, photo shoot happening today. And I put that all over my calendar. And really at the peak of my business, I was booked like 3 months out, which as a portrait photographer by myself, which, shooting one person at a time, I think that was pretty good. I considered it success. So reminder, create the space. And I think create the space goes for awareness too. Give your brain the opportunity to see the flowers. Because if you always have something in front, what can you see, right?
Absolutely. So today we're talking about the elements. And one thing that I think is brilliant that you have presenced me to from the very beginning, and people reinforce that over and over again, how important it is that we educate people and tell people, like, what are we talking about here? Because so often you go in to explore a new topic and you're just like thrown in and you're like, what the heck is going on here? And so in case, like me sitting in my space, I'm like, I assume everybody knows everything. And it's like, no, a lot of people have no clue. So I thought we should start by like educating people. What do we mean when we're talking about the elements? Right?
Well, what does it mean? What does it mean to you?
So, and, based on what tradition you're looking at, there are different elements that some bring in, but I think the most common way of defining the elements are earth, air, fire, and water. And I think that's the best place to start. Like, let's keep it simple before we bring in the metal and the ether and the whatever. But to keep us on a beginner grounding level here, that's the way I like to look at them. And it's been like they've been a part of my awareness and understanding for a very long time. I all the spiritual things have been a part of my life for probably forever, and on a strong awareness level, at least 30 years. Um, but it's been interesting to me, especially now. Everybody knows I have a sweat lodge in my backyard and have been doing a lot more connection with the indigenous practices, which have just been bringing in the elements deeper and deeper. And I swear every time I step in that sweat lodge, so we had another sweat on Sunday afternoon into the evening, thanks to the element of water, because it was raining. So watching, like, we have to have a fire to heat the rocks that then go in the sweat lodge to make it a sweat lodge. And watching them work, because fire requires all the elements. We have the earth and the wood that the earth is holding the space for the fire. The wood is what is burning to create the fire. They use air to fan the fire. Of course, there's the fire. But this Sunday, we also had the element of water. And so learning that fire can burn even when water is present was, it was beautiful watching that. And because in general, like, there's fire and water comes and then the fire's gone. And so watching them coexist, it was a beautiful experience to witness.
Yeah. I would, how do I say this? I would note that I think we have had awareness, and I don't know if it's spiritual awareness necessarily, but awareness of elements our entire lives, right? And maybe in the innocence of childhood, we actually had an even better connection because we didn't go to nature with a prescription or, all the noise that comes into your head as a grown-up. I don't know if you ever made mud pies, but I had quite the nature bakery going when I was little. And we had a lot of fruit trees and things like that too. So, we had a lot of animals, and it was a very, very busy house. And literally you could feel how good it felt. Like, I remember how good it felt to like dig your hands into the mud, and it was colder than the air, and just how you could pick up. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I remember one time we had a little baby duck and it died. And so we were little and we gave it a funeral, and we almost made like a little pyre for it, and there were these little seeds that fell off whatever tree, and we decorated. Now today as an adult, you can actually get a whole degree on like nature mandalas. You can actually go get education and certification. And I'm like, what? We started with that. Like, everything that we're doing as adults is really just reminding ourselves of what we used to do as a child, right? How much awe did you not sit in when you were a child watching nature unfold? It really was fascinating. But back then you had the time, right? You could watch a butterfly unfurl. Now, I think the last time I watched a butterfly come out of its cocoon was during the pandemic, when we were all staying home, waiting for death, like that was it. That was all the time. Now could you sit still long enough to watch a butterfly, come out? I don't know. You got places to go and things to do and people to see. And so I think one of the first and biggest things that nature gives us as a gift is slowing down. Just take a minute, because if you really look at it, even if you're locked inside of your house always has an element of nature in it. You might have wood floors, or you have a wood desk, or you have a plant, or you have something. So, it's not always like, oh, I don't have time to go to the park and sit outside. It could be as simple as, let me take this tiny little succulent that I can't kill, put it on my desk, and just sit with it, just sit with it for 5 minutes. So I think there's a lot of ways of bringing nature in that can be very simple. Of course, I love ceremony. I love gatherings. I love being together. And it definitely adds to my life watching how other people interact with elements. I think I mentioned I have a new friend here, and I watch her interact with her flowers and nature and fire and whatnot in her way. And it's so different than anything I've ever done. And it's so beautiful. And it's so great to have that different perspective, So I'm definitely a student of a lot of different cultures, a lot of different practices. And I don't know, I really love all the options.
And they're there in nature, and we are nature. I think modern programming, like, we forget that we are nature as well. But stepping outside of nature, when we look at astrology, if you know your sign, but do you know, is that sign a water sign, a fire sign, an earth sign, or an air sign? And there is a lot of fire in my chart. I know that I am fire, but also learning how, because like fire can be the destroyer of everything. And sometimes I feel like that in my nature. But now also being able to like have that awareness within me, like, I'm too fiery right now. And what can I do to calm that fire a little bit, or contain that fire, so whether I'm bringing in some water element or some earth element into my life. And the reverse, we were talking too, like, I'm a little bit tired because I've been burning the candle at both ends. And so my fire might feel a little diminished, and bringing in some air to stoke the fire. It's once you start understanding the elements, they're beautiful tools to help ease you through life. And definitely something that we will be teaching everybody. I mean, we'll be doing big ceremonial elemental practices at our retreat, but we'll also be feeding you like simple day-to-day ways that you can use the wisdom of the elements to support you in whatever it is that you need to get through.
Yeah. And I think that, it reminds me how the Buddhists say, the middle path, and someone else might say balance. And any of the elements out of balance are very dangerous, lethal, life-changing, lethal. And too little of any of the elements is also lethal, too much or too little, really being out of balance. So I think one of the big things I hope to get across with our retreat is accessing the elements, but also being aware of how to keep them in balance, and everything for me starts with awareness, just noticing. And
Absolutely.
it's not like some mystical gift that you are imparted with. It is a practice, and they call it practice for a reason, because you have to actively participate in it. You have to go through paying attention, and isn't attention one of the hardest things to do, right? Is to focus where you need to focus and want to focus, and balancing, right, the needs of the material world with the desires and feelings that you're looking for as well. So abundance has come up a lot in our circles recently. And, when you are working towards abundance and being in abundance, it's abundance in everything, So again, balancing all of that, right? So the retreat I'm really excited for, it's totally my jam, the elements and being indoors and outdoors and all the different things that we're going to do with everybody. I wanted to say more about it, but I kind of don't want to ruin any of the surprises. So I think we let a lot of secrets out on the website. So going to the website will definitely give you a really good idea of what we're going to do, at least the major practices. But there is something to be said for having that full experience, for coming in and literally just leaving the world behind, creating this pocket where you get to really just let go of everything, know that it is all taken care of, and just take care of yourself, and the camaraderie, just getting to know people. And like I said earlier, listening to how other people go through life. I mean, I'm a big student. I love reading. I love taking courses. You always laugh at me because I'm always after some sort of certification, but I love it. It's not the piece of paper that I love. It's the knowledge. And every single time that I pick up something new and I hear a new message, I'm like, oh man, of course, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I think of that? And so, even if you're like, yeah, 4 elements, I get it. Water, been around it my whole life. I get it. Yes. And is there a space that you can create your beginner mind and that you can see water in a new way, in a way that you haven't experienced it before? Does water or earth or fire or even the wind have a lesson for you that you didn't even know was possible, that you didn't even know was coming? Maybe the wind has been whispering to you all these years and you've just never listened because you've been so busy. So I think our retreat is going to give folks a lot of space for that. And I'm really excited for it. Totally.
Yay. And my mind is there's a ping pong ball bouncing around in there right now, because there's a piece of it that there are no words for, that you just have to experience it. And with as busy as I've been, not only us working on putting the finishing touches on this retreat, but all these other smaller events that we create, it's there's even though I've been connecting with this stuff for so long, there's always another layer. And if you think that you know everything there is to know about something, you're wrong, because I guarantee you there's another layer that you haven't explored yet. And you're talking about balance, and all of these elements do work together and work in balance. And we as humans have so much to learn from them. They're all different, and they can expand or contract each other. And we can learn from them as humans, as how we interact with each other and the balance that we create for each other. And it's just a powerful tool that once you've been made aware of its presence, everything will shift for you.
When I was talking earlier about looking around your house and noticing what's there, it reminded me that all of these elements are very much alive. Whether you subscribe to the idea that they have consciousness or not, I think you have to concede that a tree is alive, a plant is alive, right? My brother used to say that people don't like reptiles because they don't have eyebrows, so they can't express themselves to you, and like a dog or a cat or a bunny, can look sad and look happy, but like a lizard always looks like the same, right? Like emotionless. And he's like, people are underestimating reptiles and their emotions, And I think we do the same thing with nature, is that we take for granted their aliveness, So as you look around your house and you see your wooden bookshelf, like remember that, one of your tree brethren had to give up his life so that you could stack your books on it, And I think that again, awareness, that level of awareness of realizing that everything around you is working in your favor, everything around you is sacrificing itself for you. All of the people involved in creating the things that are around you and maintaining the things that are around you. So anyway, just a little note on, interconnectedness. We're all in it together.
When you were talking there, I thought you were going to bring up the consciousness of plants, and that, somebody recently did a study that shows that your plants that are around you can begin to sense you when you are 2 miles from your home. Like they know that, you leave, when you get within 2 miles of your house, your plants already know that you're on your way home. Like, how mind-blowing is that? Like, they're more sensitive than your dog. Like, many people have experienced like the dog, when you turn down the corner from your street, they already can hear that you're on your way home. But, that's maybe half a block that they're aware of you're coming home. But the tree in your backyard, you're within 2 miles of your house, and it senses you and knows that you're on its way. Like, that to me is just mind blowing. And, the more that I'm doing this work, the understanding the level of consciousness that plants have is, I think they're smarter than all of us.
Yeah. And our retreat definitely will help in recognizing that and seeing the evidence of those things, so that you get that it's not just something that somebody believes. It's something that you can measure and you can feel and you can see. It's just a matter of opening up that awareness, right? That perception that allows you to see and experience all of these things. So anyway, I'm really excited for this retreat. I think we are 40 something days away, if I'm not mistaken. So we are pretty darn close. We do still have a couple spots left. If you'd like to chat with us about it, they will go. This absolutely will sell out. It's being advertised nationwide. So it's going to be a really interesting group that gets together. And we've got it all worked out for you guys. So all you have to do is get to the airport. If you get to ATL by, I think we said 11 a.m., that's it. That's all you got to worry about. We'll drop you back off a couple days later. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Well, I'd love for you to share in the comments your experience with the elements. Do you have awareness of them, and how do you tap into them for your daily activities in your life? Post in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, I think that's a wrap, folks.
All right. Until next week, have a magical day, everyone.